Hello, my fellow Avengers. It's the Marvel Nerd 2016. Shit! Oh. Tip. Let's review Daredevil Born Again. So guys, I've just finished watching Daredevil Born Again, and first, I'm going to talk about my overall thoughts on the show without any spoilers, and then later on in the video, I am going to be talking about spoilers. So if you haven't seen Daredevil Born Again, or if you are watching the show but you haven't finished a certain episode, then I suggest skipping to this timestamp where I'm pointing to. So yeah, so I feel really happy that they didn't decide to make the show into a PG-13, because when I heard that Disney removed Daredevil and all the other shows off of Netflix, and they're going to be making a new Daredevil, but this time PG-13, and no Foggy, no Karen. And at first I was just thinking, why? Especially because how can you make Daredevil PG-13? But luckily, although the show did have some reshoots, and while I was watching the show, there were a few crumbs of this PG-13 version of Daredevil Born Again, where it was just Matt Murdock smiling about, and it feeling like a Law and Order show, but with the mix of Marvel in it. But overall, the scenes where it did involve the reshoots were really good, especially the opening, which was very heartbreaking. I feel really happy that Charlie Cox reprised his role as a Daredevil, and although at times he did feel a bit out of character with some of the episodes, especially the fifth one. Well, he wasn't out of character in the fifth one, but the fifth episode was not really my favorite. And also, I also feel happy that Vincent D'Onofrio's Fisk. I feel like although he was a lot more menacing in the third season, or the first season and the third season of Daredevil, but he still does a good performance in Born Again, especially now since in the show he's a mayor. But some of his choices were a bit strange during the course of the show. So yeah, and this kind of pissed me off. Some of the important characters, or like the characters which were already introduced in the previous shows, like Claire, Marcy, those characters don't return in Daredevil Born Again, and I was really disappointed how Karen was barely in the show. So yeah, and some of the new characters kind of sucked. I mean, they were okay. I didn't like how Matt ended up with a new love interest called Heather, and to be honest, their chemistry just felt off. It was kind of rushed, but overall, personally, this was a good show. But there are a lot of things about Daredevil Born Again which I didn't like so much, but this has to deal with spoilers. So yeah, here comes the spoiler talk. So right off the bat, I really didn't like how they straight up kill off Foggy Nelson, and I was in complete shock. How I was even in tears And for some reason, there was no funeral scene for Foggy. But not just that, but during the course of the show, you don't really get to see Matt mourn the loss of his best friend, who he has known for a long time since college. So I thought that was pretty strange. It's like how I mentioned earlier on, with the whole multitude of parts where it was PG-13 and it felt like a episode of Law and Order, but if it was PG-13, where Matt is just in an office and he's just smiling about it. And I just kept on thinking, bro, shouldn't you be mourning the loss of your bestie? And some of the characters were rushed, or like plots were really rushed or prolonged. Like, for example, in the show, there was one point where Fisk and Vanessa, they had this couples council, and at first I thought they were gonna have a divorce, but then they don't have a divorce. But overall, that goes out of nowhere. And also, the weirdest part to me was that Vanessa hired Bullseye to kill Nelson. And during that part of the show, I just kept on thinking, what? Or, although I did do research beforehand because I was this shocked, just thinking, why did they kill a Foggy? But moving on from the death of Foggy, the character of Muse was cool. In the previous Daredevil show, whenever a villain was being introduced, like Fisk or Bullseye, you did get a really good and impactful backstory into where they came from and why did they become the villains, which we know in Daredevil. But Muse, although he was a very frightening villain, and he even scared the crap out of me during that therapy scene, but I just kept on thinking, well, okay, we're kind of rushing through his story a bit, especially when he just spits it out with a monologue. And also, I do wish, instead of being 9 episodes, I really wish that the show could have been 13 episodes, and that each of the episodes could have been at least 50 minutes, just so that they could have fleshed out Kingpin becoming mayor, and the loss of Foggy, and White Tiger, who was also rushed in the show, because at first I thought he was going to have a important role in Daredevil Born Again, but no, he gets instantly killed off. And at first I thought that in the next episode, we were going to find out, wait a minute, did the Punisher kill the White Tiger? But then no, we only get to find that out during like the last episode, which I just thought, well, why? Like, instead of having all of this other filler and the whole bank robbery episode where it was just a reminder that Miss Marvel exists in the MCU and that, Daredevil and Miss Marvel will team up soon. Make sure to watch Miss Marvel. I really wish that instead of having that, episode 5 could have easily been about Muse, where he came from, and they could have easily, effectively made that episode about Muse instead of just sprinting his origin in episode 6, and with, okay, I can't remember what else was going on in the show, but I really wish that there was a episode where it could have been like a court scene involving the death of White Tiger. I feel like that would have been a lot more better than whatever the hell was going in the show. But moving on from like the bad stuff, the action scenes were cool, some of them. The opening of Daredevil Born Again, with the whole fight with Daredevil and Bullseye, was cool. But the problem was, there was way too much CGI, and I just kept on thinking to myself, what's the point of having a show about a blind guy who fights people, right? And in the original Netflix shows, like if you look back at some of the fight scenes in the original Daredevil show, especially the hallway fight in the 3rd season, there was no CGI. All of it was practical, and all of it was in one take, which I just kept on thinking, what? But in Daredevil Born Again, although you do get those one take shots, but you don't really get much of them. And also, with some of the fight scenes, I really didn't like how there was so much cuts. So the editing was very rough in some parts of Born Again. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention the Punisher. Why wasn't he, like, instead of having Heather and all these other characters, the side characters could have easily been Karen and Punisher. But no. Instead, Disney decided to introduce all these other characters as replacements to Karen and Foggy. But honestly, I feel like they should have reshot the entire show. They could have easily just delayed it. And at first I thought the ending of Born Again was going to be abrupt with the cliffhanger. But no. But I still wish that it could have been 13 episodes. Anyways. But overall, Born Again was a decent show. I understand the criticism of what the show has been getting. But overall, I didn't thought that was bad, although there were parts of it which were messy. But personally, it was a okay show. It wasn't as good as the original show, but at least it was still R-rated and gritty. Well, although some parts of it wasn't gritty, but it's also bloody as well. Especially that one scene where Fisk just rips out, or not really rips out, but he crushes like a guy's head. And that was brutal. Like, that looked like something out of a Terrifier movie. So yeah, it still has its violence, but not as much compared to the original show. So yeah, my final rating for Daredevil Born Again is, for me, it was probably a 6.5 out of 10. I had fun binge watching the episodes because I didn't watch Daredevil Born Again weekly. So yeah, okay, I've been yapping too much about the show. But yeah, thank you guys for watching the video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow my Instagram and my letterbox, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.